In this video, we're going to show you to install the brake flex hose on your INFINITI G37 X, located behind the driver's side rear wheel. Using a 21mm socket, loosen and remove your lug nuts. Now on our particular vehicle, we have a locking lug nut here. We're going to use our key to remove that. If you have a standard lug nut, simply remove it. Once your lug nuts are removed, remove the wheel and set it aside. Now here we have our flex line and we follow it up, and we have a retaining clip right here. It's shaped like a horseshoe and it comes around. And then we have a 10mm nut right here. Now what you want to do, spray this down with some rust penetrant and let it soak for a little bit. We're going to use our open 10mm wrench. And what you really need to do is you need to loosen this. You can actually see as I'm trying to turn this nut, the whole hard line is spinning. That is not good. You want to make sure that you can loosen this without twisting that hard line, and it seems like it's binding up. You can see I'm working this back and forth gently. What's going to happen is if you turn this nut without it loosening from this, you're going to twist this hard line and break it off, and it's going to create a whole lot more work for you. So if you can turn this and slowly work that, that's what you want to do. As you're doing this here, you can also spray it down with some more penetrant to help break down that rust corrosion on there. Definitely have patience while doing this. So we now have this moving pretty freely, but continue to work it back and forth. Now what's going to happen is you are going to have brake fluid leaking out of this. We have a catch can underneath to catch that fluid. Before we remove that completely, what I'm going to do is I'm going to use a pair of pliers. I'm going to grab this tab. And we want to try and pull this off. And there we have it. So here is the horseshoe tab, and it does have a curve to it. So you want to make sure when you put this on, it has the curve facing upward to lock this in. And what that does is it secures the flex line to this bracket, and then the hard line will attach to it. Continue to work this here, and we're going to just spin this off and separate it. Okay, it is now separated. You can just pop that down. I'm going to tip that hose down and dump out some of that fluid. Now if we come down to the other end here, is a 12mm on the back side. I'm just using my gear wrench on that. Actually, it just broke free, so I'm going to spin that out. You're going to lose fluid from the backside of the caliper as well. Now, when you separate this bolt, this is called the banjo bolt. There it is there. Good, pull this off the backside. Now you're going to have two copper washers. There's going to be one on each side of the hose here, or you might have one on the bolt side and one on the other side of the unit. I'm going to go ahead and dispose of that. Going to take the new hose here. Take your bolt, put on a new copper washer. And push that through, put on a new copper washer on the other side. And we're going to go ahead and thread that. You want to make sure that the little pin on that hose fits into the hole on the back side of the caliper. Pretty much it's an alignment pin. Thread that on and snug that down. Now on this end here, this is going to fit up into this here, and there's like a little keyway on it. It's going to line up on the bracket itself. So you're going to push this up. Once you get that tab lined up, go ahead and tap that on. Go ahead and grab the hard line and start to thread that in by hand. So now that you have that started a few threads, go ahead and use your wrench. I want to go ahead and secure this. Okay, so it's bottomed out there. I want to go ahead and make sure that it's good and snug. Okay. Now that we have everything secure, go ahead and spray it down with a solvent. I'm going to do the same on the back side. Let's go ahead and torque down our bolt here. And go to 11 foot-pounds. At this point here, we want to go ahead and proceed to our brake bleeding process. This is going to help us eliminate the air that is in this line and up into the caliper at this point. Now at this point here, we're going to use our 8mm socket. We're going to open up our bleeder screw. Now this is another component here you want to pay attention to. If it gets stuck, you want to go ahead and free that up before you break this. We're also watching for air bubbles that are going to come out of this here. What we're looking for is the air bubbles to stop and a steady stream of fluid to come out. This is what we call a gravity bleed at this point. It could take a few minutes for this to start to have a constant steady stream of that fluid coming out. So now we have a steady stream of fluid coming out, but we are going to watch this just a little bit longer. Watch for any air bubbles. At this point here, it doesn't seem like there's any more air bubbles popping out. Go ahead and close this down. Snug that. We're going to spray this down with some solvent. Now some of these bleeder screws have rubber caps on them. If yours had a cap on it, go ahead and pop it back on at this point. Ours didn't have one and we don't have one to replace it. Now you want to hop into the vehicle, pump up the brake pedal. You want to make sure that you have a solid brake pedal. For some reason, if you press down on that brake pedal and it goes to the floor, you want to go ahead and repeat this brake bleeding process here, or you may have to do the complete brake bleeding process for the entire vehicle. With the hood open, locate your brake cover here for the master cylinder, push on these tabs, and pull up on this cover, set it aside. Once we have the cover off, you want to go ahead and spray and clean up the cover itself. Make sure you don't get any debris into the master cylinder. Just going to use some regular solvent to do this. Clean everything up. Once that's clean, you want to go ahead and pull off the cover and set that aside. Inside the reservoir, there's going to be a little screen. You want to go ahead and reach in and pull that out. Make sure you grab a rag to capture that. We're going to be reusing this here. Let's go ahead and set that aside. Our next step, go ahead and grab a container that you can use to put the fluid. Now you can use a vacuum tool such as this here or a turkey baster or something like that to go ahead and pull that fluid out. Make sure you're wearing safety glasses when performing a job like this. Be careful not to get this on the vehicle's paint. If you do, you need to immediately clean it. Go ahead and wipe down the cover here. Remove that old fluid and put that away somewhere. Now go ahead and grab the appropriate brake fluid recommended for the vehicle, and we're going to fill this up. With it filled up to that max line, go ahead and grab that screen, drop that inside, grab that cover, and install that. Now we're starting our brake bleeding process on the right rear of the vehicle. Now we have someone inside the vehicle. What they're going to do is they're going to pump up the brakes 3 to 4 times and hold pressure. Then I'm going to go ahead and open up this bleeder screw. This is going to relieve any air bubbles in here. When that comes out, it's going to go into our external reservoir here to capture that fluid. We're going to do that a few times until there's no more air bubbles coming out of the line. Then after that, we're going to seal this up. We're going to clean it. Then we're going to go to the left front wheel. We're going to repeat that process there. Then to the left rear wheel. Repeat that process. And then we're going to close with the right front wheel. Let's go ahead and do that. We're going to be using an 8mm socket on this here. You may have to apply some rust penetrant to this or maybe apply a little bit of heat to get this bleeder screw to loosen. We did inspect the fluid in the reservoir and make sure that it was topped off. Let's go ahead and start. Go ahead and pump up the pedal. So we're going to put on our hose here. We're going to use our 8mm. While they're holding that pedal, we're going to open this up. And what we're looking for is air bubbles coming through that line. So we'll close this. Once their pedal goes to the floor inside, we'll close this. Then they're going to pump it up again. Go ahead. And this is looking pretty good so far. Go ahead again. All right, we have no air bubbles left in this line. We're going to close this up. We're going to remove our bleeder hose here. Now, if you have any brake fluid coming out of this here, go ahead and use some solvent, spray that down, and let's go ahead and we're going to repeat this process for the left front. Now we're up here on the left front wheel. I'm going to put this on. Okay, go ahead and pump it up. All right, while they're holding it, we're going to open that. You can see the bubbles coming through. We're going to close that up. Repeat. Again. Again. You can see we're still getting air bubbles in this here. Again. Okay, we have a solid stream of fluid coming through. Now at this point, we're going to close this up. We're going to pull this off. Our next step is to go ahead and top off the master cylinder with brake fluid. Go ahead. Fill this up to the max line using the appropriate fluid. Once that's topped off, we're going to now move to the left rear wheel. We're going to bleed that and then move to the right front wheel and bleed that wheel there. Once you're completed, you want to top off the reservoir one last time. You're going to clean up any residual fluid that might be up here, and then we'll put our cover back on. Hop into the vehicle, pump up that brake pedal. Make sure that brake pedal is nice and firm. If it does not firm up, you want to go ahead and repeat this brake bleeding process one more time. That should clear everything up. But if it does pump up firm the first time, perfect. Go ahead and install your wheels, torque the lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. At that point there, you're all set. Install your wheel. We want to go ahead and get all of our lug nuts started here. And once we get all these on, we'll go ahead and snug them down. Use your locking key. Torque your lug nuts to 80 foot-pounds. We're going to start with our locking key. And then we'll torque the rest in a crisscross pattern. And you're all set.
When only the best will do, demand TRQ. The only company that lets you view before you do. TRQ is committed to offering the highest quality aftermarket auto parts that are engineered for peace of mind. Thanks for using and viewing with TRQ.